Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. How are you? Welcome. My name is Michael Elmers, Deeper States Mind and Wellness. I am a hypnotist and a neurolinguistic programmer. This morning, I'm going to talk about who can and who can't be hypnotized. And the reason I want to do that today is because so many people are wondering if they can actually do hypnosis. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we go into hypnosis and how you're experiencing it, and I want to take care of a little bit of house cleaning. If you guys want to leave a message, go into the open up another browser on the side and just go into the streamyard.com/Facebook. It's just allowing you to give permission for you to come on. If you're on YouTube, same thing. You have to go in and give us permission in order for me to show you your questions on the screen. I'll leave that up for a little while, and then about halfway up into this, I'll come back in and I'll look at your questions and we'll take some of your questions. So I'm a hypnotist and a neurolinguistic programmer. I've been doing hypnosis for probably about 25 years, and really I've been doing hypnosis all my life, and you have too. So I want to talk a little bit about what it is and what's actually happening and why it works for some people and some people it doesn't work for. And the thing is that we're always in hypnosis. You're experiencing it all the time. Every single time you experience something. How many of you guys have been in love? One of the biggest things that can hypnotize you is love. You go back and think about that relationship that you had when you were very young, and you were thinking, oh my gosh, I did everything for that relationship and it just didn't work. But you did everything in that relationship because you were in love, right? You were hypnotized by this mesmerizing moment of this person being very, very part of your life, thinking the visions and the processes of what it was going to be like long term. So, and it's good. It's experiences, right? Everything's an experience. We learn from the things that we experience. We don't learn when we don't experience. So that being said, let's talk a little bit about where hypnosis originates in our brain, right? How many of you have ever been just sitting in a classroom and you're so bored, or you're at a talk, say you go to a conference, right? And you're thinking, oh my God, I just walked into this and I can't get up and leave because everybody's going to pay attention to me getting up and leaving. So you kind of start zoning out. And it's when I was a little kid, I looked out the window a lot. And I would just kind of zone about like where I'd want to be and what I was going to do and what I was going to change and what would change in my life. And it was crazy because as that started happening, I was still recalling stuff because I was still doing okay in school. But I remember thinking, wow, there's so much out there beyond this moment in this classroom. And the problem with that is that you have to be able to go into the level of what it is that you're able to accept or deny. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So we're in hypnosis all the time. Everything is hypnosis. So when you think about those memory recalls of that relationship you had, where you did everything for that person, right? Maybe it was love. But in the moment in that time when you had that thought process, all of a sudden the song comes on, and now it's 2022, right? It was 1960 something or 1980 something when you had that relationship, or 1970 something, right? But now that song comes on the radio, maybe on the oldies station for some of you. For me, the 80s, but sometimes for some of you, the oldies are like 50s and 60s, right? So that brings in this memory of emotions. It's a flood of sensations, a flood of emotions. And you'll remember, oh my God, that was the time where I met so-and-so. And oh, we had such a great, and then he did that. And that'll come into play, or she did that and treated me like this. And that's how it comes into play, is that those emotions are pulled back in from the unconscious mind. So we walk in trance all the time. You're always in hypnosis all the time. The difference is that in hypnosis, in a clinical setting, we're going in, we're relaxing it in a controlled environment, right? An uncontrolled environment, you're constantly being bombarded. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. If you're being bombarded with things that are important to you or things that mean a lot to you, you'll hold on to those and they become part of your unconscious behavior, a part of that tape that runs in your unconscious mind. But if it's negative, sometimes that does the same thing too. It'll go into the unconscious mind and it'll hang on to you, and it'll sit there and it'll become the way you respond. People always say, oh my gosh, I hit this age and all of a sudden I'm doing something and it reminds me of my mother. Or, that's something my dad would have said. That's because it's an ingrained memory. It's part of that tape that keeps spinning in the unconscious behavior. The weird thing about that, and the only thing I can say about that is that you have to be allowing that to happen, right? When we are between the age of 3 to 7 is when you're programmed, really. That is who you are going to be. So you're programmed to be either respectful of a law enforcement or disrespectful. Respectful to your parents or disrespectful. Respectful to your grandmother or disrespectful. So between the age of 3 to 7 is where you're built into, or you're learning what is expected, right? And that becomes the unconscious behavior. That becomes the way that you respond to situations. Now, we know that there's a conscious and we know that there's an unconscious. We know that there's a filter, what we call the cognitive filter. In order for hypnosis to happen, the moral system or the unconscious mind has to be okay with what you're experiencing. So if that relationship had started horrible from the very beginning, the unconscious mind would have clicked in at some point and been like, oh, this is wrong. This isn't what I want. This isn't what I deserve. I was raised differently, right? You hear a lot of people say, oh, I was raised differently. Well, because that's when the moral belief was put into place. And that's where the moral system sits. And I'm using this is figurative because we don't really know where the conscious, unconscious, and the cognitive filter lie. We just know that what comes in the unconscious, what comes in the conscious mind has to go through this filter that questions what's happening, right? If it agrees with it, it pulls it into the unconscious mind. So new experiences are put in the conscious behavior based upon your experiences of the past. So if you always had a bad experience in a relationship, or you always had a bad experience with, let's say, pasta, right? Spaghetti. You had spaghetti when you were a child, you hated it, and you've always hated it. And maybe your mother told you, I don't know if you're going to like this because it's kind of disgusting. It's almost like eating worms. Well, the unconscious mind had to build that into what its factors are. It had to go in and realize that, oh, this is now a belief system. This is what I believe. And it holds on to it. So the next time you see spaghetti, you're going to visualize it first. 98% of the people see something first, right? Even when you have your eyes closed and you start to think of something, you're going to see pictured images first. Then those picture images can become emotions, right? So it goes into the physiological, or it can go into the olfactory or auditory senses. But what happens is the brain is going to unconsciously filter through that and cause those emotions to resurface. So imagine this. So if you are raised at a very young age to be happy, to be excited, to believe that you are limitless, you're raised to believe that anything you do, you can succeed at, right? With hard work, you can succeed at anything you put your mind to. We always hear that cliche. It's true. As long as there's not this underlying toe, I like to say it's the undertow of the ocean of our brain, right? So you could think, oh my God, I want to make $1 million. But if your father was always telling you when you were a child, money's bad, money's evil, you can only make so much. Once a certain point, it just becomes chaotic and a disaster. And people will make a lot of money, lose a lot of money, right? So if that's a learned belief system, now that sits in that unconscious mind. So consciously, you could say, I just started this company. I want it to grow. I want to make $3 million this year. But the thing is that if the unconscious mind has this tape running in it, this program, this CD, this hard drive, right? It continues to move through that same pattern. So unless you resolve those internal issues, you'll hit a certain, I see this with a lot of my coaching clients that I'm doing business coaching with. They'll come up, they'll hit a certain point in their income, and then they'll drop themselves back down. They'll do something unconsciously without realizing it, and it brings them back into a level that they feel comfortable with. And that's with anything. I mean, how many people do you know that, you start getting this relationship going and the relationship is going really, really well, and all of a sudden, boom, something's happened. And now there's this change in this whole thing, and you don't know what it is. And it could be an underlying unconscious toe. It could be the undertow grabbing you and pulling you back, saying, this is just too much. It's getting too scary. It's too real. It's too serious. It's maybe too perfect, right? So it's really important for us to understand that that's why therapy is here. And it's whether you come with me as a hypnotist. I'm busy, and I evaluate my clients before I take them. I'll tell you that right now. You go through an evaluation, a strategy call before I take you on. An MFT will take you on if she's got availability, which is good, because if you're working through a marriage and family and there's an issue in there that you know what's going on, you can work on that together. But if you know what's going on and it's not working and it's underlying unconscious behavior, it has to be dealt with in a deeper level, I believe. Okay, I'm sure some of you out there listening to this show right now would say, "Oh, that's crazy. I've been a psychotherapist for 25 years, and I've never really had to go in and try to clear out the unconscious behavior." I believe it's an undertow. It's the undertow of the ocean grabbing you and pulling you back all the time. And if you don't deal with that stuff, you can go an entire lifetime dealing with that. For instance, an alcoholic that was raised in an alcoholic family remembers the past experiences of everything that happened during those alcoholic moments of growing up, from the age of 3 to 7 all the way until their adulthood. It became a pattern-based learned experience. So in hypnosis, what we do is we take you under, and we get that filter to kind of step aside, and we start working with the conscious mind by communicating to it with language pattern, right? And other patterns, anchoring it, getting it to, if there's an anchor about belief that is not a good anchor, that's an anchor that's not benefiting you, we create that anchor to dissolve. We have to, this is a little bit of NLP. We have to break the anchor, use the leverage of what we have to make it better, bring it into the highlight of what the unconscious mind stimulates on, right? Pleasure and pain. Remember, only changes humans make are based on pleasure and pain. Bring the negative, bring the pain, pivot off of that, and come up and leverage yourself into a pleasure zone. So, for instance, if you're living a life and every time you start your business and you hit a certain point you fail, we have to bring in new memories that stimulate the mind and the body to feel that sensation of having a pleasure zone, as opposed to, oh my God, if I make over 100,000 this year, unconsciously that undertow is saying, oh, more than 100,000, it's more money than I've ever seen. And with that comes problems. We all know that, you make that kind of money, there's problems. That's the way it works, because that's a learned behavior pattern. So in hypnosis, you go in, you tweak that out a little bit. You get the conscious mind to start reacting with the unconscious mind. And my belief system as a neurolinguistic programmer is that once you get into those levels and you start creating new anchors, or you start getting the unconscious mind to anchor into new emotional states, new sensations of pleasure instead of pain or agony, which was implemented in the unconscious mind at the very beginning, that's how we create change. We change the understanding of what our brain is stimulating our body to do. So, like hide and seek, we all played hide and seek as little kids. You remember what it was like when you knew somebody was coming, that fear sensation, right? The brain knows it's playing a game, but it doesn't know the difference between somebody's coming or, oh my God, that's a pterodactyl chasing me down the road, right? It's going to kill me. It's going to eat me, whatever you want to call a raptor. Whatever is coming after you, that's the same feeling, the same emotion. It's a fight or flight feeling. In hypnosis, if you're a paratrooper, we have to get rid of the fight or flight feeling, right? And eventually it happens on its own. But sometimes what happens is the unconscious mind holds on to that negative belief system, and it won't allow the negative belief system to move forward into the pleasure zones. So a lot of times when people are trying to do something different in their lives, that undertow, the unconscious mind, emotion sensations from the past will creep in, grab you, and pull you backwards. And some people are very aware of that. Some people will say, oh, that sounded like something my mother would say, or that's something my dad would have said. That undertow can be beautiful. The undertow can be like, where you have a man saying, oh, my dream is to have a family like the family I grew up with. I want four children. I want to be able to have a great home. I want to be able to sustain and hold on to everything we have and make more money and have my wife work and have a beautiful home where we come home, we all have dinner at the dinner table. For some people, that's really, really important, because that was the upbringing. That was the belief system that they incorporated into their life at some point, right? Maybe it was when they were younger, and then, or some people, maybe it was when their father retired and started saying, I want this for my home. That ingrained emotion or memory is a beautiful undertow. It's great. It goes for the sustainability of saying, I want a family that has this, this, and this. Now look at the negative side of that. If you were taught that, your father was out, with different women all the time, he never came home, he would say he'd come home and he wouldn't come home, you had plans and he didn't show up. Those emotions are negative trance state, right? So we're always in trance. The difference is whether or not the unconscious mind accepts that negativity or denies the negativity. Now, and if it's aware of it, right? So I've worked with families where the father was never there, or the mother was never there in this household structure. This child learned and understood that's the way it was, right? Or a child that's getting abused and beat. You go all the way back. I mean, look at trance. Life has to change, right? And I just worked with a client on this yesterday. What was good for your father and your mother may not be good for you now, because we have hopefully had an evolution of time, an evolution of how people change dynamically, emotionally, physically, even the way we operate. I mean, there was a time, where taking out a leather belt and beating your kid was acceptable. Nobody ever looked at that as being, oh my God, he just spanked his child. Nowadays, we've learned that evolution can change everything. Even the way you educate your child, the way you put your child into an understanding of what's right from wrong. So if the child has been abused their whole life, many times, and not all the times, because a lot of times what will happen is that the brain is like, oh my God, I refuse I'm not going to be like my dad, right? Or, I'm not going to be like my mother. I want to be able to cook for my family. I want a household. So if that's the experience that you've had, it becomes you. If it's not the experience, the brain doesn't know how to accept it. So that abuse could become part of your regular pattern. That undertow is going to grab you, and the first time that your kid does something wrong, boom, that undertow kicks in, and you start thinking, oh, I have to reprimand this child, right? For a long time, that's how child abuse happens. And a lot of times what happens, it goes from generation to generation, maybe known or unknown. But the reason is because it has been an ingrained process in the unconscious layer of the brain. It will the undertow will grab you, and the auto response is, I deal with this. I think there used to be a commercial, I don't know, some of you probably remember it, where the mother is sitting there and the baby's crying and crying and crying, and the mother turns around and is like, raises her hand, gets ready to hit this child, and she stops. And we want that to happen. We want the unconscious mind to grab that emotion and stop the negative pattern and find a new way to create it. But a lot of times what happens, we don't even know that pattern's clicking into play. We don't even know that we feel a rage of emotion, but it's coming from an undertow. It's coming from an underlying emotion or sensation. So let's talk a little bit now. I kind of clarified that. And let's talk a little bit about who can be hypnotized, who can't be hypnotized. So if you're listening to my voice right now, you've been hypnotized, right? I may be hypnotizing you right now. But the thing is that we're always hypnotized, and it's all a belief system. It's a state of mind, right? So if your state of mind is, I don't want to get into politics, so I'm not going to go there. But your state of mind, let's say, is a process of feeling like, oh, I need to donate, I need to give back, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to change the world, I need to change the country, I need to change everything that's around me. I want other people to be happy and to live and to prosper. If that is your process, then those emotions are going to show out, and it's a learned experience. So you've been hypnotized. I like to always tell my clients, and I like to say, some of us are in great trance states. Some of us are in great hypnosis. Others of us are experiencing shitty hypnosis and don't know why. We're having a shitty life and don't know why. If you hear my voice, I'm asking you to think about your life and think about what you can change or what you can make better, right? If you were to remove those undertows, those undercurrents, and work through those undercurrents, how much better would your life be? Whether it was hypnosis, whether it's counseling, whether it's seeing a psychotherapist, an MFT, going to a psychotherapist and saying, I don't know why this happens to me all the time. I feel depressed and I feel anxiety when blah, blah, blah happens, right? So if you can put into perspective what's happening, then you can deal with it. But if you don't know, if you come to me and you don't understand what's happening, or you don't understand what it is you want to achieve, hypnosis isn't right for you. I mean, I'm not a hypnotist. I mean, they are out there. They're out there. I'm not the type of hypnotherapist that's going to sit there and say, let's go in, let's let your unconscious mind tell you exactly what you want. Let's do a past life regression for spiritual regression, and let's figure out where you should be. Maybe you should be a priest. Maybe you should be, I don't do that. And I won't do that, because I believe that that's not my job. That might be your therapist's job. That might be your psychotherapist or your marriage and family therapist. My job is to get you from point A to point B and forget the past. Let's shut down something. So if there's an undertow grabbing you into those emotions that are negative, close them off. Use hypnosis. Use past metaphors to have the unconscious mind go in. It's smart, but the brain's smart. Brain is one of the most awesome things we ever have. Its potential is limitless. What stops the limitless potential? You, your emotions, your beliefs, your program, right? I mean, you have some people out there, even in the sound of my voice right now, you're hearing me and you're very successful. You're successful because you have managed to either overcome that undertow or to restructure and rebuild the undertow into a whole new behavior, into a whole new process. So you have to have some idea of how to concentrate. That's the biggest thing. And we did a test. We did a blind test with children who had ADD when I had my office in Sherman Oaks, and it was very interesting because maybe 2 out of 10 times they go into hypnosis, maybe 1 out of 5 times they go into hypnosis. It takes a concentration level for you to relax and to be able to relax, right? That's why you see people come on stage sometimes and they won't go into trance. Either they were asked to go up there against their will. You always have to have the client's okay to put them in trance, right? I mean, even if it's as simple as sitting down and watching a TV program, you have given your okay to sit down and experience that experience. Same with hypnosis. If you're going to go in and you're going to give your okay to be hypnotized, it's because you want to correct something. So you have to have the person's consent, all right? They have to be able to relax. They have to be able to focus. And what I mean by focus is like, a tree cannot be hypnotized. But yet I have a very good friend, Dr. Shelley Stockwell, who her notoriety and who she is came from hypnotizing a chicken. She was challenged to, and she did. You put the chicken on its back and you get its eyesight to line up with your finger. You pull it back and the chicken will go into like a catatonic state and just sit there. But any animal will, right? I mean, you remember when your mom used to touch your forehead and just kind of rub you and you feel like you're kind of like falling asleep. And sometimes you'd even fall asleep. That's a state of trance. So as long as you can have some concentration and you can focus to that level, you can go into hypnosis. And I'm not saying that if you have ADD, you can't be hypnotized. Because I'll tell you, it's just a different way that the hypnotist has to work. And if you're listening to my voice, you can't be hypnotized. I used to get this a lot, and now I don't get it so much because I think my profession has changed a little bit of that. But I used to get clients all the time and say, "Oh, I did hypnosis and it didn't work, and the hypnotist told me that I wasn't a good candidate." Bullshit. You're a good candidate. You have that ability. You're in trance when you're looking out the window, zoning out. That hypnotist needs to act differently with you, respond differently to your needs, and get the brain to act in a way that relates to that unconscious behavior. All right? So another thing that has to happen is that, and and it's really funny because I say, you have to be in a place where it's calm and quiet and comfortable. But yet you see, I mean, I've done stage shows, right? And you see the stage show where, the Orange County Fair is back here and, people are screaming and yelling and people are screaming on the rides and the concentration takes into play and they focus on the hypnotist on stage. That gets them to relax and go into this hypnotic state where now they're going to respond. And hypnosis is all hypnosis. It's hypnosis, right? It's all a learned trance state. It's all you willing to be hypnotized. So if you have ADD, don't think you can't be hypnotized. It's just that the hypnotist has to work differently. And sometimes I will do the strategy call and let you know that it's not going to work. I mean, for me, it's not going to work because I don't have the tools in my quiver, in my toolbox, to find a way to get you into that level. Highly ADD and ADHD children or adults have a really difficult time relaxing, and that's the biggest part, and a difficult time focusing. So, in the blind test we did, what would happen was sometimes they would relax enough to go under. Another time we'd be starting the countdown or getting them to try to relax, and their mind would be like, "Oh my God, I remember seeing a book on the shelf," and they immediately come out and go get the book. So, so if the ADD and ADHD is that bad, I won't take a client like that because I'm going to be honest. I can't. I don't know. I don't have the tools in my toolbox to manage that. Now, if they're medicated and they're managing that to an extent, then it's a real big possibility that we would find out in the strategy call whether I could work with them or not. So, hypnosis can be used for a variety of things: depression, anxiety, stop smoking. I've helped women get pregnant, which comes off really odd, but they've been trying to get pregnant. Their stress levels high, their anxiety's high. Maybe they don't know, maybe there is some physical problems going on. I mean, in vitro is great. I've helped women go in and visualize and remember, your brain's powerful, right? Go in, visualize, and see the egg hitting the everything connecting and getting pregnant. So hypnosis can be used for a variety of things. One thing it can't be used for is physical ailment. So if you have gangrene in your leg, I can't remove the gangrene with hypnosis. We can get you to heal a little faster, right? But let's say it's just from your waist down to your toes. And they're saying you're going to have that amputated. Well, you are going to have that amputated. We can't help with that part of it. But what hypnosis can help you do is alleviate that pain. Get kind of a natural nerve block that works with the anesthesia. So between the two of them, you can go into trance and you can relax and you can get into those deeper levels. So our brain is so powerful, so powerful. If you can start removing those behavior patterns that are sitting in that undertow, that grab, you'll start modifying and changing your life. I promise you. I mean, I went through depression and anxiety after my mother passed away, and it was a wake-up call. When you feel hopeless or you feel like you can't achieve something, that's something that got stuck in your head at some point. It really did. If you don't fear something, you're going to do your best to attempt it. And if you fail at it, I'd rather you tell me, I did that and I failed at it, than to say, I went my whole life and I never tried anything because I didn't want to get outside my safe zone, my security zone, my beliefs were so strong, right? You hear that a lot of times from people. Oh, I would never do that. My belief is so strong. If it benefits you and it's making your life great, awesome. Hang on to it. But let me tell you this. If you're doing shit over and over again and you're miserable and you're unhappy and it's not making your life fulfilled for you, you have only one life. You have the day you're born, the day you die. The middle part is all up to you, man. It's all whatever you want to create. And if your brain can't believe that it can create it, it's not going to. If it feels like it can't make those right decisions to hit that right level in your mind, then you need to go in and do some interpersonal changes. I just found hypnosis to be the vehicle for me. I found that for me, hypnosis changed my life. I mean, it changed my views on death. It changed my views on my own personal potential, whether or not I could achieve or not achieve something, whether or not I had to fear something or not fear it. And I'll tell you, fears can be great. Fear can be awesome because fear can make change, right? Remember, we talked about pain and pleasure. Fear is a pain level. So if you fear something, you're going to find a way to change it. You're going to find a way to modify it and maybe go in and do something different with it. I'm going to open this up to a couple questions if there's any questions coming in right now because I want to wrap this up. I have a client in a little bit, but I wanted to share this with you guys this morning because I am having a lot of people kind of wondering, well, what is it? Why has it happened? What's going on? And that's it, is that we all are in hypnosis. And, you all know what you need. Unconsciously, you all really do know what you need. Whether those under ties or those under emotions are coming up and pulling you into this place where you feel like you don't, you do. Or maybe you need a hypnotist to go in and make that real. Make that process become real first in your head and your physiological self. NLP will make you feel that emotion, that sensation. So when I work with my elite athletes, I mean, they can't go out on that field feeling like, oh my gosh, we lost the game last week and now we're playing this game again and we're going to lose this game too because we lost that game, right? If you have that belief system, you're a loser. You're not going to win. So the key is going to be to switch that out, change it around a little bit, and get it to where when you change that around, the brain is going to go in and understand that the potential is limitless as long as you can remove the fear. I think that 98% of what happens with my clients, before I get to the modifying of their unconscious behavior patterns or the emotional sensations or even the way they look at something in life, their perspective, right? What happens is that they fear something. And I really do believe that the only thing that holds us back in life is fear. And I mean, you look at Ukraine. I mean, the whole process is they're believing they're going to win this war, and there's not a question whether or not they are or aren't. People that are leaving are feeling that they have to leave because they're saving their lives, and it's probably true. It is probably a very important part of them to leave and to make sure that they're safe and that their women and children are safe. And the key to that is that they believe that they're going to win this war, and I really do. I mean, I think they're going to, and I mean the way things are looking, right? There were some tests done in Colorado. Colorado had the highest crime, I think, in the nation at one point, and they brought in gurus and energy workers and all these different people, and just kind of sat there and did meditation and evaluation, and energy is everything, right? And that's a whole nother topic, so I'm not going to get into that because I need to wrap this up. But energy is a whole nother topic. Is it physical energy internally? Do you create the physical energy from negative to positive? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like waking up in the morning and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have a shitty day. Or, oh my God, I just stubbed my toe. But you know what? That's okay because I did it now and I'm not going to do it again. And the rest of my day is going to be absolutely fabulous. Absolutely wonderful. So you create your own emotion that creates your own progress, that creates your own success. All right? So thank you guys so much for being here today, YouTube. Thank you guys. I know that I haven't been over there a lot to actually add in covers on the YouTube stories and to answer some questions. I will try to get that done today. Things have been really, really busy, you guys. I'm so sorry. And my social media person has continued to have me on top of this stuff and really doing her best to keep me motivated. But I have a lot of work in my office, so I will try to keep everything going, I promise. And I know try is a word of failure, right? So I've made a commitment that I'm going to, and I have been doing pretty well with these. Last week I lost a computer, so I was not able to do I think I wasn't able to do my Monday show, my Monday business connection, and I had to go take this computer and have it redone and rebuilt and everything else. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody, and go out and make somebody's day this weekend. Have a good time, enjoy your life, prosper. Be you. Do the best you can at the things you want to do, and I wish you guys all the best of success. And if you have any questions, please do me a favor, DM me. I am here. I'm an open book. DM me. Send me a private message, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. If you have a comment about this, leave it in the comments. I'm asking everybody who can hear my voice and who's watching the replays of this, share it, because I'm going to tell you that social media has gotten very tough for people to get to another level. I'm not showing boobs, right, for TikTok. I'm not dancing and doing a great dance for you. I'm giving you knowledge. I'm giving you something that I hope you can take with you and grow and prosper and change your life. I mean, and it's not, I know it's not the glitz and the glamour of me being in a mansion and showing my Rolls Royce and taking you on a cruise with me. But share this. Give this out to people that it can change their lives, because I'll tell you, hypnosis and NLP changed mine. Thank you guys. You guys have a good day, and I appreciate every one of you who join me here, who watch our shows. I want to thank the replay people, because I don't ever really get to see you guys or connect to you. If you're watching a replay, join me. It's keep an eye out for Factual Fridays that's coming in. I like to give you guys a little tip about hypnosis and its history. Join us over on this Facebook page that you're watching now. Invite your friends to join this page. share it and like it, because I want to tell you the algorithms of Facebook have changed a lot, and they're looking at trying to get people in that are just comedic. People that are just pleasure zone seekers, and that's great. I know that my show is not that, and it probably will never be that, because my intent is to give you something again that'll change your life and help you make a difference for yourself. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Love you all. Have a great weekend. Have fun. Enjoy yourselves, and go make somebody's life just a little bit better this weekend.
I think these videos are brilliant, and I'm sure you will like them too. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell.